I have been obsessed with musicals ever since I was a kid. Like a lot of people, my obsession started with the Off-Broadway production of the musical Heathers in 2014. This is a musical I hold very near and dear to my heart, and when I heard there was a West End version of it, like a lot of people in the Off-Broadway Heathers community, I rolled my eyes just a little bit at it. Because what I had heard in recent years kind of led me to believe that it was just some campy kids bop version of Heathers, and that isn't really something I thought I would enjoy. In the past few years, especially on TikTok and the resurgence of a Heathers fan base on that platform, I saw so many mixed opinions on it that I kind of wanted to just give it a listen myself. But I didn't want to just listen to the music, I wanted to watch the musical. So I went on YouTube and I found a slime tutorial that I believe is the original cast, and I tried to go into it as open-minded as possible. I didn't want to go into it with a nitpicking perspective. I didn't want to go into it with a perspective that this is going to be worse than the Off-Broadway production. I just wanted to go into it knowing that this is a different take of Heathers that I'm going to be able to enjoy. That being said, I did get some notes, and I wanted to go through them here to kind of give you the view of what it felt like as a Off-Broadway fan looking at Heathers on the West End for the very first time. Even though I said I went into it with as open mind as possible, I'm a human, I'm biased, so I did have some preconceived notions about how the musical should be, so I'm going to go through the things that I did actually really like about the musical first. And I want to preface all of this with I think the actors did amazing. I think the musical was actually really enjoyable, regardless about what I'm going to say today. I really enjoyed it, but I just wanted to go through some things that I found interesting as I watched. So starting off with what I liked, like I said, the actors did really good in this production, especially Carrie and Jamie playing Veronica and Heather. What? Veronica and JD. Especially Carrie and Jamie playing Veronica and JD. My jaw on the floor, like 1000% of the time. The vocals. Girl. The lighting, especially during Dead Girl Walking, Shine a Light, You're Welcome, I Say No, all of it was just so incredible. Like, blended the stories so nicely together, and it just added that little oomph that those songs really need. Especially 17, the way that the silhouettes, Veronica and JD, as they end the song is so good. It's so good. It's so good. I loved it so much. I really love 17. I think 17 was great. The costume change of Heather Duke during Never Shut Up Again. It was really cool, and I love it was so quick and like it felt so magical. It reminded me of the quick change of Elsa on the Frozen Broadway show. On the floor, jaw on the floor. And I also saw a comment on the slime tutorial that I watched that said that JD's flannel represents his innocence, and when he meets Veronica during Dead Girl Walking, never see him with that flannel again. After Me Inside of Me, that flannel is gone. So they're using that to kind of show his innocence, that being with Veronica unleashed this monster inside of him. That's just the catalyst for the rest of the musical, and it's just so good. All the new songs in this musical were really good. I do have some points on them that we're going to get to in a second, but regardless of what I think about how they changed them, I think all of them were really well made, well produced. They sounded really good. The vocals, again, incredible. All of them were just so catchy. I fear they're all going into my musical playlist. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. They just got in there the second I heard them. So that was a quick fire round of the things I did like. But now I'm going to go into some things that, not necessarily that I didn't like, but I just had some thoughts about, and that caught my eye as I was watching the whole production. Starting with the accents. I know a lot of people talk about the accents in the West End version with a little bit of like snark, like, the accents are so bad. I can't believe anyone would listen to this. It wasn't that bad for me. It was just a few times when I was like, okay. My like major friend group is all full of people from the UK. They always tell me how, oh, when Americans do British accents, it's so cringy, and like they never do it right, and it's just like, is that really how you think we sound? And I've always been like, yeah, that must suck. And I've never been on the other side of that, to hear a British person genuinely try to sing and act with an American accent. I'm not saying I could do any better. It did take me out of it a few times. I hate to say this because she was such an amazing actor. Martha, my love.
There was a boy I met in kindergarten.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. But that accent completely ruined Kindergarten Boyfriend for me. I felt so bad. I felt so bad because she was doing such a good job. She's such an amazing singer. And same with JD sometimes. It sucks because his Our Love Is God was so amazing. And then sometimes his accent would slip slightly, especially during the R part, and I'd be like, But again, it wasn't enough to like ruin it for me. It was just things that as I was watching, I was like, dee, dee. So like it didn't ruin it for me. Like other things I didn't like about it, which things I genuinely didn't like, the list is pretty small. It's like the very bottom. It's just kind of silly sometimes. Okay, going into things about the actual musical itself. First thing I want to go through is the song additions and changes. I know like the biggest one is Blue versus You're Welcome. I actually want to save that for last because I have thoughts, so we're gonna do that one last. So going not in chronological order, the Blue reprise versus Never Shut Up Again. So in the West End version of Heather's, they took out the Blue reprise song. This is where Heather Duke takes the scrunchie, takes Heather Chandler's power, and then helps Kurt and Ram perpetuate the rumor that Veronica had a three-way with them because she wouldn't sleep with them the night before. For me, I wasn't too sad to see that song go. I was very interested by the addition of Never Shut Up Again. Words. In this song, Heather Duke not only takes Heather Chandler's scrunchie and has an amazing costume change that shows that she's now in power. She has a whole dance number where she basically says, "I'll never shut up again. This is my town now. I don't have to answer to anyone else. You can't tell me what to do. It's me now, not her." And then there is a scene where Kurt and Ram very explicitly state that Veronica had a three-way with them, and then there's the rest of the dance number and then it ends. The thing is, this song is really good. It sounds amazing. It sounds like a proper, like, produced song. Like I said, all the new songs are produced really nicely. The song is so good. Like, it slaps so hard. I could see the appeal of the song, but I don't really think it belongs in Heather's the Musical. It does kind of feel like something that belongs more in Six, or maybe even Mean Girls. Maybe not Mean Girls. Mean Girls had a little bit more of a campy vibe. But it seems like a song that you'd hear in Six the Musical, or more of a pop song that you'd see on the radio. But again, I can't even be mad at it because the vocals... That song is so good, and she sings so nicely. Oh, what is her name? I need to find her name, like, right now. Wait. Okay, I just googled it. Her name is Christine Lakin. I don't know if that's the girl that I watched in my slime tutorial. I hope it is, because her vocals are really good. I need to check out more of her stuff, because... What? That girl can sing! Like, that's crazy. The song itself is really catchy. It feels a little bit too long. It has some really good lines, and the costume change, like I said before, is so sick. It literally feels like a Frozen on Broadway moment where it's poof, and then she's there, and it's so powerful, and then the vocals come in, and such a good song. That being said, I do think it is a little bit unnecessary. I think that the song could have been shortened, honestly, because the costume change is, like, right at the beginning of the song. I think it would have been more effective to shorten it down to the length that Blue Reprise was. As much as I think that Blue Reprise is a bit of a sleeper, I think the length of it is perfect. It really just does what it needs to do and then gets the hell out and gets room for Our Love Is God and pushes the story forward. But when I was watching the West End version, when when Never Shut Up Again came on, I was like, after like the first chorus, I was like, more, okay. Oh, there's more. Oh, wow, there's even more. Okay. Oh, we're still going. No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. There's more. It just kept going, you know what I mean? So I think what would have been really good is keep the length of the Blue Reprise, but keep the amazing song that you just added in. Have the costume change, have the transfer power, give a little dance number, show Kurt and Ram, end the song, move to Our Love Is God the same way you did. I think if you just basically just quickened it up, cut like half the song out, put the rest of it on Spotify, because I'll listen to it, but in the musical I kind of just want to move on, you know what I mean? And going back to the transfer of power, I really like how in this musical they make a bigger deal of the fact that Heather Duke is literally taking over Heather Chandler's spot, because that's a big deal. I think it's kind of weird that in the Off-Broadway version it's skipped over. We just get a little like lighting moment, some funny music, she puts the scrunchie on, and then it's over. I think instead of having the power transfer supplement the song should be supplementing the power transfer. So we should be focusing in on that and then moving the story forward. That being said, I'm not someone who directs musicals. I've never made one in my life, so I don't know if that would like turn out really bad to like speed it up that quickly. But I personally feel like it was just a little bit dragged out. I think it's great. The song is great. Dance is great. I'm not too sure why Heather McNamara is so happy about it. In the Off-Broadway musical, even though she's going along with the rumor that Kurt and Ram are spreading, when Heather Duke tries to take power, she's like, hey, that's Heather Scrunchie. She calls her out on it. I can't recall if she does that in the West End version. I don't know. But I do think it's weird that she's smiling, she's dancing, she's hyping Heather Duke up, and then it cuts to Lifeboat and she's talking about, obviously she's like, who made her captain? Why would she do this? You were agreeing with her. It's a little bit of a jarring effect that she's so happy about the power transfer, when in reality she should be hurt by this. She should be hurt that Heather Duke is just trying to immediately replace her dead best friend. In the West End version, she seems really on board with it, which I don't really fits her character. But yeah, overall, I like the song. I think I could have changed a little bit. I really like how it gives Heather Duke a chance to shine, because she does get that a little bit in the Off-Broadway version, but it really shows how power hungry she is in the West End version, which I do like. The most we get from that is from the Shut Up Heathers. I think it really had a positive effect on the musical. Next song. The next song is I Say No. So in I Say No, this is when Veronica is breaking up with JD after she finds out that he's still carrying firearms and breaking their promise. It's a very important part of the show. It's what causes JD to go insane. I have mixed opinions about this one. Whoopsies. Like the last song, this one is really good. I really liked it. I think Carrie did an amazing performance of it. She was putting everything into this role the entire time, but she had so much emotion while singing this song. You could really feel her distress, how betrayed she felt. But I do think this song was unneeded, unfortunately. This could be a preference thing. I prefer the simplicity of Veronica seeing the gun and being like, bye-bye. I think that just suits her character a bit more, at least Barrett's version. I guess with Carrie's it kind of makes sense that she would want to like really give him a piece of her mind, but I do think the song was just a little bit unneeded. The song itself, while really good, was repetitive. After the third or fourth I Say No, I was like, okay. It kind of just like kept going. Same with Never Shut Up Again. It just didn't stop, and I was like, I get it. Another issue with this song is that I feel like it really undermined the part where JD literally points a gun at her to try to make her stay. Why did we pass that so quick? Hello? That's insane. He just pointed a gun at you and your reaction is, dude.
I love you! Dude. This is it!
Girl. Stand up. That's insane. Me when my boyfriend literally threatens me with violence if I leave him. What are you saying? This is insane. And that was like, that's what I really like about the Off-Broadway version, is Veronica gives him a moment to stew in it. Brother, what? He's like, damn, my bad. I got it. And obviously she's like, I'm out of here. Really pretty. Still going on my playlist. Not for me. Okay, next one. I wasn't really sure if I was gonna add this one in here. I did want to talk about Dead Gay Son. All I have to say is I'm confused. What happened here? Like, honestly, what happened here? I don't know if I'm missing something. What was the point of the lyric changes? Like, this is a genuine question. What is the point? Because they didn't remove any of the homophobia in that song. They kept the gun line. They kept everything. They just started talking about gay penguins and animals. I don't I just want to know. I want to be in the room where it happened. I want to know what was happening when they rewrote this song. Pretty much everything was the same, but the words. Huh? I would kind of get it if they removed like other things. Like they removed like the homophobia from the song, they removed the homophobia from the musical, they removed Kurt saying a slur. But they didn't. So I'm a bit confused with the thought process. It still sounded great. Sung the shit out of that song. It sounded amazing. I just don't understand why. That's all I wanted to say. Okay. We've arrived at the nitty-gritty. We're talking about Blue versus You're Welcome. I have thoughts. And I fear they may be just a little bit controversial. So anyone who knows the musical knows this, but this part does talk about essay, the topic of essay. So if that's uncomfortable, just maybe skip this next part or stop watching. That's okay too. In their respective musicals, these songs take place when Heather McNamara is on a date with Kurt and Ram, a double date with Heather Duke. Ram and Duke screwed her off to do their own thing. McNamara doesn't want to. She calls Veronica in and basically trades her off in a date rape trade. It sounds awful, I swear it makes sense in the musical. Essentially, the songs, both in different ways, Kurt and Ram are trying to, in Blue, convince Veronica in very crude and goofy language, claiming that she's teasing them and leading them on. In You're Welcome, it is very much about SA. They're basically describing to her how they're going to SA her. She can do nothing about it, and they're saying you're welcome for what they're planning on doing to her. She ends up getting away, same in Blue. Like I said, implications, she doesn't actually get assaulted in either of the musicals. The thing is, You're Welcome, while it's a really good song that I unironically listen to all the time, it's scary. It makes it really real. I think a bit too real.
I'm not playing around. Come on, I need to get home.
You can't just leave, not when you're dressed like that.
Just like what? This is what I always wear.
Yeah, and it's torture. How can you expect us to control ourselves when you look like that?
Dear diary, here we are in the dark, 50 yards from my car. I could climb that tree.
When I listened to this song for the first time, the first few listens, genuinely, like, I was scared. And I don't just mean like, oh, this song is so, like, uncomfortable. I, like, felt sick. I'd heard this song before I watched the West End version, so when it came across to the musical, I wasn't upset. I was kind of like, oh, banger. God, what a banger. I'm so excited. But the first time I listened to it, it was bad. And the argument I see a lot is that it needed to be replaced because Blue was insensitive. Blue is a very lighthearted, very goofy song. It's very comedy oriented. Whereas You're Welcome is like horror shit. There's a reason why Blue is so lighthearted, and that's because the intention of that song is to make fun of those men. It's to make fun of men who speak like this, make fun of men who put women in these situations, make fun of their reasoning, because they're being stupid, they're being silly, they're not acting rationally. Not to say that it's justified because they're not thinking straight or something like that. Their mindset is ridiculous, and that's what Blue is making fun of. Additionally, I think that Blue gives them a little bit more depth character-wise. When watching the Off-Broadway version, I really don't like Kurt and Ram, but when they die, I'm upset, because as Veronica says, when I was watching the West End version and they died, I was like, like, good riddance, you know? I feel like it didn't really give them that room to grow that Blue did. In the Off-Broadway version, what Kurt and Ram did was awful. I'm not excusing it in any way. I'm not saying Blue is like, their actions in Blue are justified at all. But in no way is it something that two teenagers deserve to be murdered for. They should be punched in the face a few times. In the West End version, they kind of deserve it. They're awful people in the West End version. And I don't just mean for You're Welcome. In the West End version, one thing I noticed that they also took out is during Big Fun, in the Off-Broadway production, Heather Jeek is harassed by Ram at a party and Veronica gets him off. It's a twisted moment of comedy in the Off-Broadway production that they removed from the West End version. And when it came up, that part in Big Fun, and it didn't happen, I was like, oh, interesting. That's kind of strange. I remember there being something else here, but that's okay. I'm not here to die on the hill that Heather Duke has to go through, this poor thing. After I listened to You're Welcome, and after Our Love Is God happened, I was just thinking, that makes so much sense why they removed this, because if they kept that part in, I would literally hate Kurt and Ram's guts. Their murder would be so much more justified if they had that little moment in there. You're Welcome just makes it so much more direct. If it was there with You're Welcome, none of their actions they would not have been redeemable characters, and I should not be siding with JD at this point in the story. In this point in the story, I should be with Veronica thinking that murder is not an option, should never be an option. And I did just mention that if they kept that part in Big Fun, then Kurt and Ram would literally be irredeemable. I also mentioned how in Never Shut Up Again, Kurt and Ram very explicitly tell the story about how Veronica totally slept with them and had a crazy three-way with them because they were butthurt that she didn't end up wanting to have relations with them. how they act in that part of Never Shut Up Again. And then you also look at how they're acting during You're Welcome. It's disgusting! It's not to say they weren't disgusting in the Off-Broadway production either. The West End version makes them seem completely irredeemable, and they make me want them to die, which is not how I should be feeling. The actors did amazing, obviously. It's hard to make a character that unlikable. They did a good job of making fun of their characters in a way that you could tell that they didn't like their characters either. I guess the main question I have about this song, Change, is why? You made it more uncomfortable than it was before. I've seen the argument be made that it could just be because in the original Off-Broadway it could be interpreted that they're creating a joke out of SA. And I also did see a thread on Reddit discussing why they may have changed it, and one person mentioned that the same thing, that it could be making a joke out of SA, and also that blue balled isn't really a term in the UK. My best friend is from the UK, so I decided to fact check, and I got the answer that they know what it is. They're not stupid. It's not like if you played blue in front of them, they'd be like, what are they talking about? So I guess the only valid reason is that they didn't want to make a joke out of SA, which I guess I could see. I'd be lying if I said that the first time I watched the Off-Broadway production and I saw blue, I wasn't like, wow. I just think that You're Welcome makes that way too real, way too scary, and completely removes any redeeming qualities from those characters. I think that shows from how they had to remove other stuff from the musical to make them less reprehensible. I think You're Welcome just does horrible things for those characters. And also for me. It's a great song. But the first time I could not listen to it. I can now. Me and my friend blast in the car all the time. Okay, now that that is over, we can talk about the next segment. Ooh, amazing. Wow, this is so cool. Wow, oh my god, oh my god. I'm going to be going through a few of these. And I want to start off with the one I hate the most so I can get this round out of the way. I want to say this. Actress, amazing, beautiful, talented, vocals, oh, fantastic. Heather Chandler. What did they do to you? I hated it. I'm sorry, I hated it. I'll have to find another slime tutorial to see if it was just the one that I watched that had her like this, but it seems like it might have been a director's choice. I don't know who decided that Heather Chandler should be the comic relief in Heathers. I think they should rethink that position. Genuinely, I think it was so distracting and like fully undermined Heather Chandler's entire character. She didn't feel powerful. I mean, at some point she did. I'll get into that in a second. At some point she felt powerful, but for the most part, she was just screaming. Screaming noises. Making jokes, some of them were pretty funny. Being the comic relief, which I wasn't really expecting, and it wasn't a change that I liked. It didn't feel like she was there to support the story or guide Veronica. It felt like she was there to be a joke, which she isn't supposed to be. Like I said, I do think some parts she played really nicely. For example, at the beginning of the musical, I actually really liked her. Right up until about Candy Store, maybe a little bit after that, that's when her character started to shift, and it shifted the most in Act 2, once she died. But I think at the beginning she was actually played really nicely with a really good balance of evil and sarcastic.
And thinking about us in the old days, I hope you can come to my homecoming party this weekend. I miss you, Bram. Put an XO after the signature. What's this for?
And she was making some really funny jokes. My favorite one is talking to my friend.
I don't even know his name.
You were totally throwing your panties at him.
Talking to my friends.
Heather Chandler just felt really mishandled in the West End to me. She didn't feel like a powerful force that she is in the Off-Broadway version. She felt like a nepo baby. While in the Off-Broadway production, she does have some comic relief moments. They're not added to the detriment of her actual character and the force she really holds. If anything, I think they just support her. But in the West End version, I'm so sorry I couldn't take her seriously. Some lines, it felt like she was saying for the sake of saying the lines instead of saying the lines, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like she was, especially the chainsaw line, I literally had to pause and, like, sit.
I think Graham and Kurt were murdered.
Well, fuck me, Chili with a chainsaw!
What? It was awful. Overall, I think that this change just made her character arc feel very jarring. It was interesting to see her go from this really powerful force to this caricature of what Heather Chandler was back into that really powerful, creepy force in Yo Girl. It just felt a bit jarring to me. It wasn't really connecting. It wasn't really working. Again, maybe that's just a preference thing. Maybe some people really like Heather Chandler, in which case I'm so sorry I've been talking so much shit. On to, but you guys aren't going to see this one coming, JD's dad. I love this change. This was so good. Whoever made this decision, up, promotion, please do it. I love the psychological kind of manipulative feel that JD's dad in the Off-Broadway production gives. But in this one, he's so evil. He's awful, and it's awful to see, but I could tell it was good when I was genuinely feeling like so awful for JD. I was like, what did they do to him? And this, what's his name? I'm a fake fan right now. I forgot his name. Papa Dean. This Papa Dean made Jamie's JD stand out so much more because they work so well together. They just go together so nicely, and I think it just gave so much more depth to both of their characters, and it really made sense to say this is why JD is the way he is. In the Off-Broadway production, I still like that one and prefer it just a little bit because it really makes you think like, oh wow, this family is messed up. But in the West End version, I'm thinking, oh wow, this family is messed up, and I can see exactly why. I prefer the subtlety of the Off-Broadway one, and also I think it just leads to some more iconic lines. But I still really like this change in the West End. It's such an interesting take on the family dynamic in JD's family. Speaking of JD, I have so many thoughts because oh my god. Oh my god. Jamie put everything into this role and it shows so well. And I think he brings such an interesting take to JD. It's like you could just see the vengeful spirit and the anger. It just feels like he could snap at any second. And JD, whoa, their names are way too similar for my brain to like even process. You can just feel how Jamie really walks that line of being like a psychological mess to being able to snap at any second. It's incredible. And the vocals? Oh my god, he sings so amazingly. I know I made fun of his accent in that song, but in Our Love Is God, it's like... But yeah, I could go on for hours about his JD. Sometimes it was a little bit too much for me. It was kind of giving like Tumblr boy.
Down to the swatch dogs and diet cokeheads. They're gonna crush that girl.
I'm sorry, what?
Like fanfic, but I could look past it because the vocals were good, the acting was amazing, and it wasn't like those moments weren't long enough to completely ruin it for me. I just think he did such an amazing job. I just want to mention that in my notes I wrote, I need him so bad. What? Who said that? I can't talk about JD without talking about Miss Veronica, played by Carrie, like I said. Amazing. She has vocals for days. Great actress too. Cutie. I really don't have much to say about her besides she was really good. Her comedy was good. This is fully just a preference, but I think her like sarcastic take on Veronica, while fun, isn't my favorite. I kind of prefer Barrett's kind of awkward but just desperate enough to go along with whatever the Heathers are saying attitude. She's snarky enough to kind of clock everyone around her, but she's just desperate enough that she'll go along with it and make a fool of herself anyways. But I do like this take on Veronica a lot that Carrie did, where she's very snarky. She's very much like, everyone here sucks and this is all stupid. This is my life, I guess. I think she does a really good job at that. That being said, I do think that Barrett's Veronica allows for a little bit more character growth, a little bit more of a character arc for Veronica. Because her Veronica starts out very awkward and nerdy and she's a little bit of a doorknob, not a little bit. She stands up for her and her friends, but she doesn't have the power to do so. With Carrie, it feels like she's headstrong enough to kind of just like barge her way through, and if she really wanted to, she could have ended it right then and there, like at the very beginning. Again, this entire point is fully just based on preference. I just prefer Barrett's Veronica. Carrie did an amazing job too, and I need to hear her live someday because her vocals are so amazing. Next off, this is not a whole point. McNamara was so cute in this musical. The actress really put everything into just making her so like just a little ray of sunshine. She was like so lovely the entire time, especially during right before Candy Store. I loved how just like happy and go lucky she was.
And a symmetrical face. If I took a meat cleaver down the center of your skull, I'd have matching halves. Hey, beautiful. I've been watching you. And
it was so cute, and I love how no matter what she was doing, even during Lifeboat, she always made a point to show that McNamara was always trying to be a little burst of energy. And that is where my notes end on the musical. I do want to give a kind of one final point on the musical that I wasn't really for. I think, and listen, we're all Heathers fans here. We all love the musical. I do think they missed a little bit of the point from the source musical they were going off of. And I don't mean the movie, I mean the musical, the Off-Broadway version. Heathers, actually, no, even the movie. Heathers is very, very intense. It's a story about teenage murder. It's a story about school terrorism, SA, homophobia. It has a lot. It's a dark teen comedy, but it's really is a tragedy if you think about it. From everything that happens in the musical, it is a tragedy. And the movie too. I just find it interesting how they remove so many smaller throwaway lines and jokes, which I understand are offensive, and like I said, I'm not here to die on any hill or fight to the death on this, like, you need to add the offensive jokes back or add the part of people getting harassed or da. I just find it interesting how they wanted to change things like "You're Welcome in Blue," offensive jokes, lyric changes, but they were okay with the whole not even the subplot, the main plot of the musical about a boy literally blowing up a school. They were okay with "Meant to Be Yours." They were okay with "Shine a Light" reprise, which is crazy. I just find it interesting that they changed some things and not others. And if you're going to be carrying over a musical like this, it's not even a negative point. I'm more just curious to why. Why even transfer the musical? If you're worried about that kind of things, it's just interesting that you're changing "Blue" and not "Meant to Be Yours." That you're okay with the prospects of teen suicide, but you're having crazy lyric changes like in Dead Case Son. For why? Like, I just don't get it. Again, this is not to say I didn't enjoy the musical. I actually really liked it, and I'm probably gonna watch it again. I still do prefer the Off-Broadway version, because like I said, that is my first baby, but I will always be coming back to this one just because the vocals are nice, the new songs are really nice, and I do think that the West End cast deserves more of a chance to shine. I think there's too many Off-Broadway fans who discount it just because it's not the Off-Broadway version. It's really amazing, and there's amazing people working on it. I think if you're an Off-Broadway fan, watch it a few times to see if it's for you. If you're a West End fan and you haven't seen the Off-Broadway version, I highly recommend it. I think we just need to be a bit more okay with looking over at different versions of the same thing, because I think a lot of people miss out on really good talent and really good songs because they're so worried about breaking this oath they've set to their favorite things. You're allowed to like other things, and it's okay if you see the West End and you're like, this sucks. It's okay if you see the Off-Broadway, you're like, this sucks. I think just give it a try, because even though I probably will still prefer the Off-Broadway version to this one, I actually learned a really awesome take on one of my favorite musicals from this. So I think it's an experiment I want to do in the future with other musicals if there's applicable situations. Yeah, thank you for being interested in my opinions, and I will hope to see you again soon.